she lost her sight in a bomb blast. 2 years later, she became the only blind sniper in military history, and her first mission was to save the squad that left her behind. Staff Sergeant Nova Chen sat in the modified sniper's nest overlooking the Afghan valley, her fingertips reading the braille markings on her custom rifle scope. At 31, she was something that wasn't supposed to exist, a blind sniper. 2 years ago, an IED explosion had stolen her sight, but not her purpose. Using a revolutionary audio guidance system, and her enhanced hearing developed since losing her vision, Nova had achieved what doctors said was impossible. She could hit targets at 1-200 meters, using only sound and instinct. Today's mission would test everything she had learned. Her former squad, the same soldiers who had abandoned her when she went blind, were trapped in a Taliban ambush 847 meters away. Nova was their only hope for survival, and they had no idea their rescue was coming from the sniper they had written off as useless. The explosion that took Nova's sight had happened during a routine patrol in Kandahar province. She was the squad's designated marksman, responsible for overwatch protection during urban operations. When the IED detonated, shrapnel pierced both her eyes, ending what everyone assumed was her military career. But Nova Chen had never been everyone. Born deaf until age 8, she had developed extraordinary sensory compensation skills that most people never needed. When blindness took her sight, those same skills adapted to create something unprecedented, a sniper who could see through sound, vibration, and spatial awareness. Have you ever lost something so fundamental that everyone assumed your life was over, only to discover abilities you never knew you had? Nova Chen was about to prove that limitations exist only in the minds of those who accept them, and that the most dangerous weapon isn't always the one you can see coming. Through her audio guidance headset, Nova could hear the distinctive sound patterns of the firefight 847 meters away. Taliban AK-47s had a specific acoustic signature different from American M4 carbines. The sound wave analysis showed her former squad was pinned down in a compound courtyard, taking fire from 3 different positions. They had been on patrol without a designated marksman. Nova's old position had never been filled because command assumed blind soldiers couldn't perform sniper duties. Nova keyed her radio. "Command, this is Overwatch Actual. I have eyes on the target area and am prepared to provide fire support." The response was immediate and dismissive. "Overwatch Actual, negative. Stand down and await orders. This is not a mission for your current capabilities." Nova's jaw tightened. Even her own command structure couldn't say the word blind when addressing her. But she could hear her former squadmates dying 847 meters away, and bureaucratic discomfort wouldn't stop her from saving them. Nova made the decision that would either prove her capabilities or end her military career. She disobeyed direct orders and began engaging targets without authorization. Using her audio guidance system, she could identify muzzle flash patterns through acoustic signature analysis. Each weapon type produced distinctive sound waves that her enhanced hearing could separate and triangulate with precision that sighted snipers often couldn't match. Her first target was a Taliban fighter in an elevated position, 623 meters northeast of the compound. Nova couldn't see him, but she could hear his AK-47's specific acoustic signature and feel the minute vibrations his movement created through her rifle's contact with the ground. She adjusted her aim based on sound timing, wind pattern audio analysis, and the enhanced spatial awareness she had developed since losing her sight. The shot was perfect. The Taliban fighter's weapon fell silent immediately. Nova's radio erupted with confused chatter. "Command, hostile in Sector 7 just went down. Unknown shooter eliminated the target." Nova smiled grimly and acquired her second target. This one was more challenging. A machine gunner 847 meters away, the maximum effective range of her modified rifle system. But Nova had trained for exactly this scenario, and her audio guidance system was providing real-time acoustic feedback about target position and movement patterns. The second shot silenced the machine gun position, and Nova heard her former squad leader's voice over the radio. "Command, we've got an unknown sniper providing support. Whoever it is, just saved our lives." Nova felt a mixture of satisfaction and irony. Sergeant Martinez, who had told her that blind soldiers were dead weight in combat situations, was being saved by the blind sniper he had dismissed. As Nova continued providing overwatch for her former squad's extraction, she realized something was wrong with the mission parameters. The Taliban ambush was too well coordinated, too perfectly positioned to trap an American patrol. Through her enhanced hearing, she could detect communication patterns between the Taliban fighters that suggested they had known exactly when and where the patrol would be vulnerable. This wasn't a chance encounter. It was a deliberately orchestrated trap. Nova's audio guidance system was sophisticated enough to analyze radio transmissions and communication patterns. What she discovered chilled her. The Taliban fighters were receiving real-time updates about American troop movements from someone with access to classified patrol routes. Her former squad hadn't stumbled into an ambush. They had been deliberately led into one by someone with knowledge of their mission parameters. In BUT, the most shocking revelation was still coming. As Nova monitored the Taliban communications while providing sniper support, she heard a voice giving tactical updates that made her blood freeze. Lieutenant Colonel James Morrison, the same officer who had approved her removal from active sniper duty after she lost her sight. Morrison was coordinating with Taliban forces to eliminate American patrols, using Nova's former squad as bait in a larger operation designed to test Taliban response capabilities. Nova realized she was witnessing more than just an ambush. She was observing a live-fire training exercise where American soldiers were being used as expendable test subjects to evaluate enemy tactics and capabilities. Morrison was sacrificing American lives to gather intelligence about Taliban operational methods, and her former squad was about to be eliminated as part of his research. Nova faced an impossible situation. She could save her former squad and expose Morrison's treason, but doing so would reveal her own capabilities and potentially compromise the audio guidance technology that had made her sniper abilities possible. Morrison's operation was designed to eliminate soldiers who might ask questions about suspicious mission parameters, and Nova's survival would pose a threat to his entire network of illegal operations. NBUT Nova had advantages Morrison didn't anticipate. Her blindness had forced her to develop an entire network of non-visual information sources. Audio specialists, technology developers, and other disabled veterans had helped create her sniper system, and they formed a shadow support network that Morrison couldn't monitor or control. Nova wasn't just a lone blind sniper. She was the focal point of an entire community of people that the military had written off as useless. Using encrypted communication channels that Morrison's surveillance couldn't detect, Nova coordinated with her support network to document the treasonous communications while simultaneously providing sniper support for her trapped squad. Dr. Sarah Kim, the engineer who had developed Nova's audio guidance system, was recording all Taliban transmissions and identifying Morrison's voice signature. Staff Sergeant Marcus Rodriguez, a former explosives expert who had lost both legs in an IED attack, was tracing Morrison's communication channels and building evidence of his coordination with enemy forces. Nova's mission had evolved from a simple rescue operation to the exposure of a systematic conspiracy where disabled veterans were being used to gather evidence against corrupt military officers who viewed wounded soldiers as expendable liabilities. Morrison had made a critical error. He had underestimated the capabilities and loyalty of the soldiers he had written off as broken. And Nova's rescue of her former squad became a demonstration of capabilities that shattered every assumption about disabled veterans in combat roles. While providing sniper support, she was simultaneously coordinating intelligence gathering, managing a network of disabled veteran operatives, and building a legal case against Morrison's conspiracy. Her blindness hadn't ended her military effectiveness. It had evolved her into something more dangerous than a traditional sniper. And as her former squad reached the extraction point, Nova faced her most challenging shot. Morrison himself had arrived at the Taliban command position to personally oversee the exercise. At 967 meters away, in a concealed position that even sighted snipers would have difficulty identifying, Morrison believed he was safely observing the elimination of American soldiers who posed a threat to his operations. But Nova's audio guidance system had tracked Morrison's helicopter insertion and could identify his location through acoustic signature analysis of his communication equipment. Morrison was using encrypted radios that produced a distinctive electronic signature that Nova's enhanced hearing could isolate and triangulate. She had a clear audio sight picture on a target that was invisible to conventional observation methods. Nova's choice was simple but profound. eliminate Morrison and end his conspiracy, or capture him alive and expose the full extent of his treasonous network. As a sniper, elimination was the obvious choice, but as a disabled veteran who had been written off by the system, Nova understood that Morrison's capture would prove that wounded warriors could outperform able-bodied soldiers in complex operations requiring innovation and adaptation. Nova chose capture over elimination. Using her network of disabled veteran operatives, she coordinated a complex operation where Morrison's position was isolated, his communications were jammed, and his escape routes were blocked by soldiers the military had declared unfit for combat duty. Marcus Rodriguez used his explosives expertise to create non-lethal diversions that forced Morrison into a specific escape route. Dr. Kim used electronic warfare techniques to disrupt Morrison's communications while preserving evidence of his treasonous transmissions. NTHE operation culminated with Nova using her audio guidance system to fire a non-lethal projectile that disabled Morrison's helicopter while he attempted to escape. Her shot, made at extreme range against a moving target she couldn't see, demonstrated precision that exceeded the capabilities of most sighted snipers. Morrison was captured alive with irrefutable evidence of his coordination with enemy forces. Nova's former squad was safely extracted, but they learned the identity of their savior only when Morrison's conspiracy was exposed during his court-martial proceedings. Sergeant Martinez, who had dismissed Nova as dead weight, testified that the unknown sniper who had saved their lives displayed capabilities beyond anything he had witnessed from sighted marksmen. When he learned the sniper was Nova Chen, his perspective on disabled veterans changed permanently. Morrison's trial revealed the scope of his conspiracy. He had been using American soldiers as test subjects in live-fire exercises designed to evaluate enemy tactics and capabilities. Wounded veterans were targeted for elimination because their questions about suspicious mission parameters threatened to expose the illegal operations. Morrison had been systematically sacrificing disabled soldiers while claiming they were unsuitable for combat roles. Nova's success in exposing Morrison's conspiracy led to a complete reevaluation of military policies regarding disabled veterans in combat roles. Her audio guidance sniper system proved that sensory loss could be compensated through technology and enhanced remaining senses to create capabilities that exceeded traditional standards. The military had been discarding soldiers based on assumptions rather than actual capability assessments. NTHE Nova Chen protocol was implemented across all military branches, requiring individual capability assessment rather than blanket disqualification based on disability status. Wounded veterans who had been medically retired were offered opportunities to retrain for roles that utilized their unique skill sets and technological adaptations. Nova's network of disabled veteran operatives became a formal military unit specializing in operations requiring innovative approaches to traditional challenges. Nova was promoted to Master Sergeant and offered command of the 1st Adaptive Operations Unit, comprised entirely of disabled veterans using assistive technology to perform specialized missions. Her first assignment was training other sensory-impaired soldiers to develop sniper capabilities using audio guidance systems, tactical vibration analysis, and enhanced spatial awareness techniques. NTHE units' success rate exceeded traditional special operations units because disabled veterans brought problem-solving skills and adaptability that able-bodied soldiers often lacked. They approached challenges from perspectives that conventional military thinking couldn't anticipate, creating tactical advantages that enemy forces couldn't predict or counter effectively. 5 years after losing her sight, Nova stood before a congressional committee investigating military disability policies and veteran rehabilitation programs. Her testimony revolutionized understanding of human adaptation and military capability assessment. Senators, losing my sight didn't make me a lesser soldier. It made me a different kind of soldier. The military's greatest error was assuming that different meant inferior. Nova's unit had achieved success rates that shattered stereotypes about disabled veterans while simultaneously advancing military technology and tactical innovation. Audio guidance systems, tactical vibration analysis, and enhanced sensory compensation techniques developed for disabled veterans improved the capabilities of all military personnel. Adaptations designed for limitation became enhancements for everyone. NTHE congressional hearings led to complete reform of military medical retirement policies and veteran rehabilitation programs. Instead of focusing on what veterans had lost, the military began identifying and developing the unique capabilities that emerged from adaptation to disability. Nova's transformation from disabled veteran to enhanced operator became the model for veteran services across all branches of military service. Nova established the Chen Institute for Adaptive Military Technology, developing assistive systems that enhanced human capabilities rather than simply compensating for limitations. The Institute's research produced breakthrough technologies in sensory enhancement, spatial awareness, and precision targeting that benefited both disabled and able-bodied personnel across civilian and military applications. Nova never regained her sight, but she gained something more valuable: the ability to see possibilities that others missed. Her sniper school graduated soldiers who could operate effectively in zero-visibility conditions, using sound, vibration, and spatial awareness to achieve precision that optical systems couldn't match. These skills proved invaluable in night operations, urban warfare, and adverse weather conditions where traditional vision was compromised. NTHE audio guidance technology, Nova had helped develop revolutionized sniper training and tactical operations across the military. Soldiers learned to integrate multiple sensory inputs rather than relying solely on vision, creating more versatile and adaptable combat capabilities. Nova's limitation had become the foundation for enhanced performance standards across special operations. Nova's former squad requested transfer to her adaptive operations unit, recognizing that the soldiers they had dismissed as broken possessed capabilities they needed to learn. Sergeant Martinez became Nova's most dedicated student, learning audio guidance techniques that improved his own sniper abilities beyond what he had achieved with traditional training methods. Years later, when military historians wrote about innovation in special operations, Nova's development of blind sniper capabilities would be cited as a revolutionary advancement in human-machine integration and sensory compensation techniques. Her work proved that the most significant military advances often came from addressing limitations rather than exploiting advantages. Nova Chen didn't overcome blindness, she weaponized it. Her story proved that the most dangerous opponents are those who have learned to turn their limitations into advantages, and that the deadliest shots sometimes come from directions you never thought to watch. She couldn't see her targets, but she could hear their defeat coming. NHER legacy lives on in every disabled veteran who refuses to accept limitations, every technology that enhances human capability, and every instructor who teaches soldiers that adaptation is more valuable than perfection. Nova Chen, the blind sniper who proved that the most important kind of vision is the ability to see possibilities where others see only problems. NTHE shot heard around the world wasn't fired by someone who could see perfectly. It was fired by someone who had learned to see differently, and that made all the difference.